Greetings, everyone. These slides are going to tell you about the SQF quality system in the new Quality Code version 8.0, effective January 2nd, 2018. The SQF quality system is a risk-based management system documented and implemented by a site producing food or related products to control food quality risks using the SQF code. It's audited and certified by a licensed CB only. The process of how to document and implement the SQF quality code and achieve certification can be found in the most current version of the SQF quality code. The training today is going to cover new items for registered quality auditors to focus on, how to audit these new items, and talk a little about your annual re-registration requirements for the quality code. This presentation assumes that you have already achieved quality auditor status by the prerequisites defined by SQFI. Formerly called Level 3, we are now using the term SQF Quality Code, and it is completely separate from the SQF Food Safety Code. Sites have to remain certified to the SQF Food Safety Code in order to go for the Quality Code. The Quality Code can be audited as an extension of the food safety audit time or a complete standalone audit. The quality audit is not scored or rated, so it has no effect on the certification for food safety. Instead of nonconformances, as we have in the SQF Food Safety Code, in the Quality Code, nonconformances are called deficiencies. There are no mandatory elements in the SQF Quality Code. And as I said, the outcome of the quality audit does not affect the score or rating of the food safety audit. Here are some tools that you'll need to refer to and read thoroughly before doing your first quality code audit. It's especially helpful to bring with you and read and mark up your notes prior to the audit on the SQF Quality Code Accompaniment Guide that was given out in August of 2017 as part of the initial training and qualification for SQF quality auditors. This is a very helpful document to auditors because it gives you auditing guidance. We are all going to be new at this quality code. For the first few months to 6 months, we are all going to learn. The clients are going to learn. We're going to learn. Please give us feedback if you find suggestions and if you find issues that you'd like us to address in terms of perhaps duration or in terms of perhaps processes to use and best practices. So please feel free to share with us what you are experiencing as you audit this new quality code. But the SQF Quality Code Accompaniment Guide takes you through all of the quality system elements, and it has auditing guidance built into each section to assist auditors to know what to look for. It's not prescriptive, it's only guidance. So, of course, with guidance, you cannot say that you are scoring something specifically because it was suggested in the accompaniment guide. It's just a guide. That's all it is. We still have to audit directly to the quality code. New components for you to know are that the site must designate an SQF quality practitioner. It might be the same person as the SQF food safety practitioner, but it doesn't have to be. The practitioner must be competent in statistical process control called SPC or similar tools. So statistical process control are tools to analyze processing trends for acceptable variations and unacceptable variations in the process. So they must also be competent in the SQF Food Quality Code and the SQF Food Safety Code requirements. There's a strong focus on labeling in the SQF Quality Code, and project product changeover procedures shall include quality attributes to meet the finished product specs and customer requirements. So there are a lot of parallels between the elements in the quality code and the food safety code, but quality focuses just on quality. And there's a lot more detail in this quality code than there ever was in the previous level 3 for the previous editions of the code. Another new component is that food fraud impacting quality has been added. You understand that food fraud impacting food safety has been added to the SQF Food Safety Code version 8. Well, impacting quality has been added here as well for food fraud. Of course, the SQF Quality Code is still based on the framework of the HACCP model that we usually use for food safety. So here's just a little comparison here between the SQF Food Safety Code language and the SQF Quality Code language. So we must learn this new language and implement it in our reports and in our discussions with clients. And it is identified as such in the elements of the SQF Quality Code. So in the Food Safety Code, we're looking at hazards, biological, chemical, physical, of the food, with the potential to cause an adverse health effect. On the other side, with the Quality Code, we're looking at quality threats, an identified risk that has the potential, if not controlled, to affect the quality of a product, but they do not cause illness. So a quality threat may be that the weight of the product is extremely important to the quality to meet the specifications of the customer. And this site has a lot of variance in their product weight. So if not controlled, it's going to affect the quality of the product and it won't meet the customer specification. It doesn't cause illness, but the product weight being very off and not in control is a quality threat. In food safety, we call our non-compliances non-conformances, raised against an element in one of the SQF food safety codes. You have minors, majors, and criticals. In quality, you have deviations, which are non-compliances, raised against the quality code, and we only have minors and majors in the quality code. Here's the definition of food fraud, a new topic for us to deal with in this version. Food fraud is the intentional act for economic gain, such as the intentional substitution of an expensive ingredient with a cheaper ingredient because I will make more money as a manufacturer. Intentional substitution, and I'm getting economic gain. With food defense, it's an incident where it's an intentional act with intentional harm. So it is the contamination of a product with cut glass, mixing glass in with sugar, for example. Someone's going to get harmed from that. That's an intentional act. Perhaps a disgruntled employee or someone in a terrorist situation is going to put a dangerous agent into a food to adulterate it with intentional harm intended. That's food defense. So here's some examples of food fraud quality threats. Diluting a product, adding alternative ingredients, expired, reworked, or relabeled product, substitution of similar ingredients of different value, recycled products, and fake or copied food. Also think about another food fraud quality threat of the theft of product and theft of packaging. So an employee or someone comes in as a contract service provider and steals packaging film, and they're going to put it on a substandard product and pass it off as your product with your brand on it. That would be food fraud, intentional harm for economic gain. Any products can be economically adulterated, but these are the most common. Olive oil, fish, you remember for years snapper has been, red snapper is a very expensive cut of fish, and they've used substandard cuts of fish and labeled it red snapper. Organic foods can be adulterated and involved with food fraud. honey and maple syrup, coffee and tea, spices, especially saffron, which is extremely expensive, and chilies, grains, milk, wine, fruit juices. But like I said, it can involve any type of food, but these are just the most common food items that have a risk to economic adulteration. So when you're auditing the food quality plan, you want to make sure that all the preliminary steps are carried out. And we'll look at a slide in a minute or two related to all of the steps. You'll make sure that there is a food quality team in place and it's active. It doesn't have to be the same members as the food safety team, but it can be. Usually on a food quality team, you may have a few different people, such as marketing, customer service, product development people maybe, but it's up to the facility to designate their food quality team. You must verify that all quality threats are identified and documented. And when it comes to identifying quality threats, if people think of it too closely to HACCP control points, critical control points, you want to really reduce and focus in on only a couple of CCPs in HACCP food safety. But in the model for quality, for the quality threats, you can name as many as you want to in order to effectively cover the quality of your product, the control points that you need to have in order to meet your specs and your customer demands and requirements. Make sure there is a protocol at the site to established for determining the significance and priority of their quality threats. So you'll see a matrix, you'll see some documentation to show the thought process that they went through to decide which is their most important of their quality threat priorities. Their critical quality points are correctly determined. Monitoring clearly indicates who will monitor them, when they'll monitor, where and how. Corrective actions must be clear and unambiguous. Monitoring, corrective action, and verification procedures are being followed. So here's a comparison of the steps of a regular HACCP plan. And the far right column ties in which elements relate in the food quality code. So you can see the process and flow follows right through the typical HACCP steps, tied in and just focused on the quality plan. When you're auditing identity preserved foods for quality, you'll want to review procedures for identifying and processing identity preserved food and assess compliance by observation, interviews with senior management, and review and storage of production records at each facility audit. So evidence might include claims made on or behalf of the identity preserved product, nutritional, religious, or ethical claims meeting regulatory requirements, correctly certified or otherwise authorized, and responsibility for the identity preserved integrity is assigned at the plant. Who's in charge of identity preserved foods? Do they understand their roles and responsibilities? And are methods documented that are adequate to preserve the integrity of any identity preserved foods? And is it effectively implemented? So just like with previous SQF codes, if they don't have any identity preserved foods, you'll mark that section non-applicable. And these are just a few other tips going right on through the finished product. So is the processing conducted under controlled conditions for identified identity preserved foods after a complete sanitation of the process line? Are ingredients and materials stored separately? And is finished identity preserved food stored properly and correctly labeled in order to meet the customer requirements? And looking in the finished product specs, are the customer requirements clearly identified in writing? Now we're going to look at employee training requirements for the quality code that you'll need to evaluate during an audit. The employee training program shall include the competencies necessary for the quality duties of staff conducting these tasks: process control and monitoring of critical quality points, the steps identified as critical to effective implementation of the food quality plan, product inspection, product testing, and the training program needs to include applicable statistical process control training for key staff, line operators, quality inspectors who are inspecting key manufacturing processes. And the training program needs to show that it meets customer specs, effectively implemented, and maintained. So you need to know what statistical process control tools look like if you don't already. And if you need to improve your skills in that area prior to auditing the quality code, we have some very good resources at the ASQ website, which is the American Society of Quality, many of which you can download for free to show you examples of process flowcharts and other tools that will guide you along the process toward analyzing the components of your process to monitor and to measure various common causes and special cause variations. Weighted moving average charts, cumulative sum charts plotted are examples of statistical process control tools. Six Sigma is a very high-level process, or certification, shall I say, qualification of people who have the tools, have the knowledge for statistical process control. So if you don't have those skills yourself, you need to make sure that you are familiar with statistical process control. And as I said, you can go to find resources and a very nice online course available for about $150 at www.asq.org. And I'm sure more training and resource information will be coming out from SQF in the future as we all develop our skills at using and implementing and measuring and auditing the quality code. Looking at the scope of certification for the quality code, it's really no different than for the food safety certification. Any agreed exemptions from the food safety certification shall also be exempted from the quality certification. The site and products will be the same as the site certification to the food safety code. The scope shall not be extended or changed from the food safety certification. The scope cannot be changed during or immediately following a certification audit to the quality code. And exempted parts of the site never can be promoted as being covered by the certification to the quality code. So that's the same as for the food safety code. Here's where there are options. For certification to the quality code, a site can have this done the same week that you're doing the food safety code audit, or they can have a separate audit, standalone we call it. But they must have attained food safety certification first. So certification to the SQF Quality Code shall only be granted on successful certification or recertification to the Food Safety Code. The certification audit for the Quality Code is always a combined desk and site audit. So there is no separate desk audit for someone new who wants to apply for the Quality Code. It's just one Quality Code audit. Let's talk about the definitions of the deviations when a nonconformance is seen on a Quality Code audit. A minor quality deviation is when we have the omission or deficiency in the quality system, producing unsatisfactory conditions that, if not addressed, may lead to a quality threat, but not likely to cause a system element breakdown. Sounds a lot like the definition of a minor nonconformance in the Food Safety Code. It's just that we're focusing here on only quality. And a major quality deviation is when there's a deficiency in the quality system producing unsatisfactory conditions that carry a significant quality threat and are likely to result in a system element breakdown. No criticals are raised at a quality system audit, and there are no point deductions for any of these deviations. The CB is responsible for deciding whether or not certification is justified and granted based on this objective evidence that you provide during the audit. As I said, there's no score or rating with a quality system audit. And sites who have successfully implemented the quality code and closed out their quality deviations within 30 days and are maintaining their food safety certification will then be eligible for certification to the quality code. So there are corrective actions to the deviations, and all corrective actions have a deadline of 30 days from the end date of the audit, and the certification decision time period is the same as it is for food safety. And the site will receive a unique certification number, just as they have in the past, onto the SQF Quality Shield. Hold on a minute, pushed the wrong button. Let me get back to where I was, excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. The SQF Quality Shield is given when the quality code audit has been successfully completed, corrective actions closed and approved, and the certification decision has been made. The SQF Quality Shield can be used on packaging of certified products or on marketing materials, and the certification body provides an electronic copy of this shield containing the site's certification number right here in the bottom of the shield. Where the zeros are, their certificate number will go there. And the Quality Shield can only be used according to the Quality Shield rules for use, which are in the code. To maintain certification, the site is required to maintain their food safety certification and ensure that any quality surveillance or quality research audits have occurred within the correct time frame, and assure that all deviations are corrected within the time frame specified. So here's something new, the quality surveillance audit. There is a quality surveillance audit if the site has 2 or more major deviations and or 10 or more minor deviations raised during the audit. And there's still that window that it must be conducted within 30 calendar days on either side of the 6-month anniversary. So it's the same time period as for a food safety surveillance audit. So quality surveillance audit, if there are 2 or more major deviations and or 10 or more minor deviations raised during the audit, they will need to have the 6-month surveillance audit. And the quality research audit would be conducted within 30 calendar days on either side of the anniversary of the last day of the initial quality certification audit. So that's the same rule as for the Food Safety Code. And sites that were under the old Level 3, under Edition 7, may select any appropriate date for their first research audit under the Quality Code, depending on whether they wish their quality audit to be conducted as an extension of their food safety research audit the same week, or whether they want a standalone quality audit at a different time. There is a rule for suspension of quality certification, and if the site fails to permit their audit or their surveillance audit, if they fail to take corrective actions within the time frame specified for their deviations, and if in the opinion of the CB, the site fails to maintain its requirements of the quality code. Now we're going to talk about several of the important elements of the quality code and what you're going to look for in those elements. And this is where I encourage you to use the SQF Quality Code Accompaniment Guide dated August 2017, which is a very helpful guide to the auditor on what they should look for during each element of the audit. So when we're talking about management commitment, auditors shall check to see that the site management is committed, involved, providing leadership, and applying the quality management principles. While not in an inclusive list, here are a few areas that the auditor should consider when evaluating the site management's commitment to quality. This is where you'll notice whether or not you're getting involvement from the management at the opening meeting, during the audit, at the closing meeting. You'll know whether or not they are supporting the company-wide quality goals. Do they understand the quality policy? Are quality objectives established? How are they measuring quality performance? Are they measuring it at all? Are they trending their quality performance, looking for patterns in their quality issues and addressing those patterns of frequency? Do they have key personnel identified on their quality team? What's the competency of those key personnel? You'll only know that by talking with them and looking and asking questions and looking for evidence that they have the skills that they need to do the management of their quality program. Is there a quality practitioner identified? What is their quality communication plan? Just like a food safety communication plan, but in the event of a quality issue. Do they have coverage for the absence of key quality personnel? Are they using the quality shield if they have achieved it, if they have already gotten level 3 previously or the current quality code? Do they have management reviews on their quality issues? Do they have them documented? Are they documenting their change management? When they make changes, do they document it, such as document changes get noted somewhere in the document, in a grid usually, or some people keep it separate? How are they reviewing and resolving their customer complaints related to quality? And do they have crisis management plans related to quality? Are site management truly committed, involved, providing leadership, and applying their quality management principles? So SQF sees the term quality management as not just about managing the quality of the products and services that they provide, but the quality management of their business as a whole. So now we're going to look at the elements that you will use to verify various procedures in the food quality system. So for validation and effectiveness, 2.5.1, you'll be looking at validation activities documented that include how they validate their critical quality limits, their process controls, and their other quality tests to meet the customer requirements. The verification schedule shall include activities designed to ensure the effectiveness of the process controls and the quality tests, and methods, responsibility, and criteria for verifying the effectiveness of these critical quality points and other process and quality controls shall be documented and implemented. Methods applied shall assure that personnel with responsibility for verifying the monitoring activities authorize each record. Authorizing usually means signatures. For corrective and preventative action methods, they have to be documented and include the root cause and the resolution of noncompliances with critical quality limits and deviations from quality requirements. Here's where statistical process control really comes into play. For verification, the activities shall include a comparison of process control limits within 3 standard deviations with specification limits to ensure alignment and the appropriate process control corrections. So you really need to know process control in order to evaluate whether their process control work is effective. Now, other verification procedures for product sampling, inspection, and analysis. Processing parameters or in-process measurements shall be established, validated, and verified at a determined frequency to meet all customer requirements. So you're going to look for that they're documented, that they have determined the right frequency, and that they're meeting customer requirements. On-site labs and inspection stations are equipped and resourced to enable the testing of in-process and finished products to meet customer expectations and quality. Statistical process control methods shall be used to effectively control and optimize production processes to improve efficiency and product quality and reduce waste. Looking for control charts in use for control of key processes, and they've defined their upper and lower process control limits. And a sensory evaluation program shall be in place to ensure alignment with agreed customer requirements. Sensory evaluation results shall be communicated with the relevant staff and customers where appropriate. So look for documentation of this. And internal audits for quality. The audit plans and methods documented to include food quality plan, process controls, quality tests, and other activities implemented in order to meet the finished product specs and customer quality requirements. And that staff conducting these internal audits for quality are trained and assessed in the internal audit procedure, but also the experience and knowledge of the quality process and the process control methods as they relate to the scope of certification. So here you're looking for both evidence that they've been trained in internal audit procedures, but also that they've been trained and they have knowledge and experience in quality process control methods. Now, to conclude our training on quality auditor and the quality code, you know that you are approved. We got you pre-approved in October for becoming a quality auditor based upon your Level 3 SQF version 7 quality auditing experience, and some of you had 6 Sigma certificates or other work experience. However, going forward, you'll have an annual re-registration requirement, and it's the same process as for food safety auditing, but there's one difference. There will be 6 total SQF audits required at a minimum annually to re-register. So 3 of those 6 audits must include the quality code, either combined with the food safety audit or a standalone quality audit. Our auditors will have no trouble meeting that with the number of audits you all do in the course of 1 year. So I'm sure that won't be an issue, but I just wanted to make sure you knew the new quality auditor requirements. Thank you very much for your attention to the quality presentation. And just remember to refer to the Quality Code Accompaniment Guide dated August 2017 that was provided to you during your training in August, September, October period for becoming a quality auditor. If you don't have that, I believe it's accessible at the SQFI website, or you can contact me at Eagle and Cooper. Thank you very much. We will transition now to our next topic briefly. We are just issuing a reminder to you to always review the previous SQF nonconformances during your audit. This is an SQF requirement and an Eagle requirement to review and document the effectiveness of the nonconformances from the previous audit. So sometime during the audit, you should visually and or verbally review the compliance and look for evidence to support that the previous nonconformances have been corrected effectively. So ask the site for evidence of corrective action effectiveness. They will show you, hopefully, the previous corrective actions, but even more of an update since it's been probably 11 or 12 months since they did those corrective actions. You'll also want to look for those when you are out during the audit or documentation review to verify that those corrective actions indeed have occurred and are not reoccurring. You will discuss this decision that you've made about whether the previous NCs are effective. You'll discuss that during the closing meeting. And this has been added to the closing meeting checklist because we have found some auditors who are forgetting to do this. So we've added it in writing to our closing meeting checklist. So make sure you bring that to your attention. And there used to be different rules, but the rules now about rescoring a previous nonconformance, if it's found to be compliant on your audit now, it should be scored on the current audit as a new nonconformance. But do not escalate it automatically to a higher level, such as a minor to a major, unless it meets the definition of the higher level. So don't just automatically escalate a prior minor to a major unless the nonconformance has gotten worse and meets the definition truly of a major. And the status of the previous nonconformances will be entered into EMIS going forward, and will be trained in the next few slides that Danielle is going to cover. Thank you, everyone, for your attention.